Hi guys, welcome back to the weird side of YouTube. I'm your host, author DC Knipe, and this is The Writing Rainbow, the show where I talk about writing, sometimes your writing, sometimes my writing, sometimes genres, sometimes the writing of television scripts, but today we are talking about my writing, and I thought since it is April, my birthday month, I would talk about the very first stories I ever wrote in my entire life. So, let's get weird. The first story I wrote, I believe I was in either 4-year-old kindergarten or a 5-year-old kindergarten, and it was for a contest at school, and we were supposed to write a short children's book and illustrate it ourselves, and the winner would get it published in like a magazine or something, I don't know. But, spoiler alert, I did not win. I wrote a book that I called Merlings, and it was about little tiny Little Mermaids, very little ones, like the size of dolls. I was inspired to do this because I had little dolls, Little Mermaid dolls, and I wanted to write about tiny mermaids like the size of fairies. The story itself, the main character was a little girl who wanted to be a little mermaid, and she found this little mermaid in a pond, and like the pond was full of these little mermaids, but specifically the one was what she was friends with, and they went on all cool crazy adventures together, but eventually they switched places because the little girl wanted to be a little mermaid and the little mermaid wanted to be a little girl. And I know it's very simple and stupid, but I was 4 years old. I do not remember who won that contest. I don't remember really anything about it except for this book. I don't even know if my mom still has this book. But I do remember how crude and awful the drawings were. I used to draw mermaids as like a circle head and a triangle tail, so it was literally just a fish, but I would draw like hair on it and arms, but it was like a circle head, a triangle tail, and fins. It was so bad. This next story is called Megazones. So I wrote this, I believe, at the end of elementary school, the beginning of middle school, and it was about me and my friends. Yes, a self-insert character. A group of kids went to their middle school chemistry class one day, but their teacher wasn't there. Instead, they found a small vial of blue potion on the table, and they drink it because they're dumb. And it transports them to another planet called Blue Potion Planet. And no, I was not very creative back then. This planet is inhabited by talking dogs and talking cats. Only talking dogs and talking cats. I don't know why. I didn't like hamsters or gerbils, or birds, just talking dogs and talking cats. And there was also an angel cat there based on my cat that had died before this, which now that I think about it is kind of sad. But she had a little halo, and she had little angel wings, and she would flutter about giving advice to the characters and stuff. The plot of this one was that the kids discovered that they had elemental powers, which they could use to summon elemental portals to other planets, like the red potion planet or the green potion planet. I don't know why I called them that, because the potion was not involved after the initial blue potion that led to Blue Potion Planet. But yeah, the megazones were these portals that they would open with elements. My self-insert character had water powers, another kid had fire. The plot was, I don't remember, but I know the villain was the chemistry teacher that was using these chemicals and like magical potions to transport himself between planets, but he was going to like do something bad to the cats and the dogs that inhabited these other elemental planets. I don't know, remember what it was. Maybe he's going to enslave them, I don't remember. But he was the bad guy, and we had to stop him from doing something. That's all I remember. The next one is Metahumans. Now, I think I misspelled it as a kid, and I called it M-E-D-I instead of M-E-T-A. If you are a comic book fan or superhero fan, you'll know that metahumans are basically any kind of human that has superpowers, so like, think Peter Parker. Human, not alien, not fantasy creature, human with superpowers. I wrote this for my best friend at the time who was really into comics more so than me. It was basically just your average superhero story, except it takes place in a world where no one knows what a superhero is. Superheroes were not a thing in comics in this world. It's basically our world, but superheroes are not a thing, not even in fiction. So some characters were like struggling with their powers, others were using them for evil, others were using them for good. All the while the government is trying to enslave everyone that has these superpowers to make them fight in wars. Very cliche kind of milquetoast stuff, but I was like 9, so who cares. I don't even think my best friend read that book, and I wrote it specifically for him after he asked, so I'm kind of upset about it. The next one is my first fan fiction that I ever wrote, called The Dawn of Fierce Deity. Now, if you've played The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, you will know Fierce Deity, aka Oni Link in the Japanese version, is a demonic version of Link. Link transforms into this character via mask, but the only transformation masks in that game are from real individual characters. But no one knows who the individual character of Fierce Deity is. It was kind of a mystery, so I was obsessed with it, so naturally I wanted to write my own version of his origins. But I loved Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and the way Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask mirrored each other, Hyrule and Ocarina and Termina and Majora, inspired me to make like a dark version of Ocarina of Time, where instead of Link going through the adventures, it's Fierce Deity Link, like a demonic version. There's also a demonic Princess Zelda in this fanfiction. She was the Princess of Ikana, which is, if you played Majora's Mask, you'll know, is a haunted, abandoned kingdom, cursed, really, in Majora's Mask. There's also a really interesting side plot that I wrote about Romani. If you know the game, you'll know that there's a place called Romani Ranch. There's a little girl there named Romani, named after the ranch, that lives there, and I wrote a side plot in this story about her ancestor, who was cursed in the form of a Deku Scrub. A Deku Scrub is a Zelda version of a Dryad, it's kind of, and that was probably the coolest little thing that I wrote in that thing. I also remember a Gerudo character that Ani Link grew up with named Cairo. Gerudo are a tribe of dark-skinned, red-headed pirate women in Majora's Mask. They're desert thieves in Ocarina of Time. But since in Ocarina of Time, Link grew up with the Kakiri, little elf-like forest kids, spirits, he grew up with the Gerudo in this fanfiction that I wrote, because it was mirrored. And instead of Saria, his best friend from childhood, it's Cairo, and they were like brother and sister. But, yeah, the more I think about that, the more I really wish I would have finished it. I never did, unfortunately, but hey. The next one is my second, and so far only fanfiction. The last fanfiction, those were the only 2 I've ever written. Nintendo Heroes. Now, the placard you see on screen says Video Game Heroes, but it was actually called Nintendo Heroes specifically. It's about me and my friends going into the world of video games. My character went to the Zelda world, of course. My sister went to the Donkey Kong Country world. Another one of my friends went to the Mario Brothers world, the Fire Emblem world, the Kirby world, on and on and on and on and on. We were sent there to help our Nintendo Hero counterparts. Like I was sent to help Link and Zelda, my sister was sent to help Donkey Kong defeat their respective villains. But this was such a huge undertaking. Like, I had like whole novels of specific video games. Like, my story, the Zelda story, was like its own Harry Potter novel, and my sister's story, the Donkey Kong Country story, was its own thing as well. And it was super long and super detailed, and I finally just stopped writing in it because I couldn't see an end. And eventually they were all supposed to come together and fight Master Hand from Smash Brothers. Obviously, that did not come into fruition because it was so much work and so much time, and I just felt like, why am I putting all this energy into a property that I can't even do anything with because it's not my property? And I do understand that fan fiction is a huge thing on the internet, but at the end of the day, when I write something, I want people to look at me to it. Like, I want to create my own things. Because the coolest parts of those stories are ones that I made up entirely. Like Cairo from Fierce Deity and the Romani's ancestor that was cursed into the form of a dryad Deku scrub. So eventually I just realized that my favorite part of writing is creating my own world and my own characters and doing their own things. So I stopped writing fanfiction, but I don't have anything against fanfiction. Now, this next book is the first book that I started writing that I was actually taking seriously. It was a ghost story. I was in high school at this point, so I was writing gay shit. Very horny gay shit, but this one wasn't specifically horny. It was just a gay couple that either bought or inherited a really old mansion that was haunted. And spoiler alert, it's ghosts. I don't remember the name of this story at all, but I just know that there was ghosts in it, so I just call it the ghost story. There was lots of different kinds of ghosts. The two that I mainly remember are a very angry man that tried to kill his wife and kids by setting their house on fire, but only he died in the fire, and now he's angry, a very vengeful spirit because of that, at everybody. And there's Snow White, probably my favorite ghost character I've ever made. I don't even know how tall she is, but she seems very tall. She floats high in the air, and her raggedy, tattered dress falls right to the ground, and it flows eerily, and her dress is white, her skin is white, her eyes are white, and she has very long flowing hair that is also white, and she's almost glowing in the moonlight. She sings very ethereally, very echoey. She's very pretty, but also very kind of eerie, but she's not evil. She's very kind for a ghost. She's also really shy, so if you hear her singing, don't look for her because she will stop singing and disappear. But I remember drawing her for the first time with like crayons and stuff, and my sister thought I was possessed because I guess she thought she was scary. But I was like, no, she's not scary. She's actually a really cool ghost. She's very nice. And she's like, are you seeing this person? I'm like, no, I just dreamed her, and now I'm writing a story about her. But yeah, my sister thought I was like possessed by the devil or some shit because of this book. I don't remember what happened in it because I never finished it. I just got to the point where I introduced some of the ghosts, and the gay couple were having like issues because one of the believer was seeing all these things, and the non-believer wasn't, and the non-believer was like very abusively calling the believer crazy and was like, I want to have you committed. It was very dramatic, but that's all I remember about this story. um, um, this next one, a lot of people will remember, my friends and family, as the first books that I ever completed. A whole series. I think there were almost 10, if not 10 books, but I never gave an ending to it. I actually self-published these books, the Demon Cradle series. Another self-insert character by the name of Zenith. I had my whole family in there, I had all my friends in there, they all had powers and abilities, and my character fell in love with a vampire and became a vampire eventually, and then that vampire betrayed him, and then he got with a werewolf, and blah 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 blah, very dramatic, very gay. Basically traveling through time, learning facts about history, saving the day, doing magical stuff, and it was very religious. I remember the elemental knights. My character was Shadows, of course, because I was gothic and emo. But the elemental knights served the king, which was just God, basically. He also had a son called the Prince, which was just Jesus, basically. And the devil was the villain, basically. He wasn't called the devil or like Lucifer. I think I named him something vague like treachery or something, or tyranny, something. I don't remember. But it was the main bad guy was the devil, and it was very religious, and it was cringe in some places, but there's a lot of parts of it that I actually really like and that I want to bring back eventually. The whole storyline with the vampires and werewolves I actually thought was really unique. There's characters like Tana, who was like started off as like a kid gangster, like 10 years old, that had her own gang that would like rob museums and stuff because she had telekinesis. Things like that were really cool, especially because I wrote them when I was like 14 and 15, and I still think they're cool to this day. And I want to bring those back, especially characters like Tana deserve their own story, I think. But I think, but yeah, those are my first stories that I ever have written my entire life, and I don't think I would be writing Dream or anything else today if it wasn't for them. So they might not be available for you guys to read, but they will always have a special place in my heart, and for that I will always remember them fondly. But if you guys are interested in any of my merch, you can check out my website, www.prismaticdreams.com. I also have a giveaway going on with items from that, details and description. The music you're hearing is mine. It's available for purchase and download from my Bandcamp, links in description. And other than that, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!